Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow would suspend its participation in the last remaining major nuclear arms control treaty between the US and Russia, the New START treaty.
Нам стратегическое поражение хотят нанести и лезут на наши ядерные объекты.
Mr. President, any reaction to Putin saying he's pulling out of New START?
Big mistake.
Here's what the New START treaty is and what Russia's suspension means for global nuclear arms control. The New START, meaning New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, was signed in Prague in 2010 by former President Barack Obama and former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. It was an extension to START 1, which was signed in 1991. This was a way to try to reset relations between Russia and the US after the Cold War. The agreement was important because these two countries hold approximately 90% of the world's nuclear weapons, so the pact was created to make sure this arsenal was controlled. The treaty limits the number of strategic nuclear warheads that can be deployed by either Russia or the US to 1,550 and allows both sides to inspect each other's nuclear facilities. Vladimir Putin said it was time to suspend this deal because Russia feels the US has not abided by the agreement by not allowing Russian inspectors on US nuclear sites. The US said it is Russia that is blocking on-site inspections. NATO Secretary General urged Vladimir Putin to reconsider the suspension.
We have to remember that this is one of the last major arms control agreements we have.
The Foreign Ministry has said, following Mr. Putin's announcement, that Russia would continue to observe the limits on the number of nuclear warheads it can deploy under the treaty, and it also said that Russia would continue to notify the US when it plans to test launch intercontinental ballistic missiles and submarine-launched ballistic missiles.
Не выходят из договора. Нет, а именно приостанавливает свое участие.
We'll be watching carefully to see what Russia actually does. We'll, of course, make sure that in any event we are postured appropriately for the security of our own country and that of our allies.
This suspension means that the US will lose access to inspect some of Russia's nuclear facilities, and it's worrisome because what Russia is planning, whatever that is, it could become more shrouded in secrecy. But moreover, it calls into question whether or not this agreement to control nuclear weapons can actually last now. China, for example, has indicated that it wants to build a large nuclear arsenal. North Korea, as we know, has been testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. And there's also concern among Western officials that Iran might actually be close to making bomb-grade nuclear fuel. The journal spoke to the director of the pro-Kremlin Institute for Political Studies, who said that if Washington doesn't listen to Moscow now, Putin may officially withdraw from the treaty. And if that happens, we could expect a change that would reduce the US's nuclear security.